What up everyone, it's your man Xman87 here, bringing you another Marvel Legends video, and what I have for you today is the Marvel Legends X-Men 60th Anniversary Deluxe Blob action figure review. Before we get into everything, if you could please leave a thumbs up, like rating on the video, it'll help show your support for my channel and I greatly appreciate it. Now with that said, let's go! Alright, so now that I have the Blob in hand, I want to start off this review by asking y'all a question. So what are your first impressions of this Blob figure? Put pricing aside, forget pricing right now, just talking purely on an aesthetic standpoint, look standpoint, how do you feel about this figure? Because to me, I think he's a great classic comic representation of the Blob in figure form. And this look reminds me of before Onslaught augmented his powers, when he wasn't over-exaggerated in size. After Onslaught augmented his powers, that's when he was over-exaggerated in size. So if you're used to seeing that Blob, then this figure's just gonna look like a diet Blob to you. So I'm gonna say that I love this figure way more than the Bath one. I think the Bath was grossly just covered in cellulite. And he had those ugly ball hip joints that I hate so much. You guys know that I hate that kind of look on figures. And man, he didn't have any articulation at the knees. This one does. So they definitely toned it down this time around. He doesn't have all that excess skin. And I really like how he looks vanilla pose, where his arms can be down. And I just feel like the way the arms look is form-fitted on his sides. It just folds down nicely. I do like that. It's not like he looks like a penguin and they're sticking out like that, like the old figure. So I think he looks really good. I think he looks really good on the side as well. And surprisingly, it's not hollow inside. It feels pretty filled up. Let me stop patting him on the back before he burps or farts in my face. And I thought they would have utilized that squishy belly feature that was on the Mojo figure. As you can see, I could poke his belly and it's squishy. So I think that would have paid a cool homage to the 90s vintage Toy Biz figure, because that figure had the squishy belly action. My guess is maybe they were afraid of any kind of plastic cracking or slight tearing to avoid any kind of damage, so I could see why they didn't go that route again. I don't see that happening if you take really good care of your figures, unless, you know, you do intend on taking a knife and poking at it then. But yeah, if you take care of your stuff, I don't see any kind of breakages happening. I think if he had the squishy belly, that would have really complemented his power set. Not saying he had to have it, I'm just saying it would have been cool. But let's take a closer look at this head sculpt, and I think it's really good. It impresses me. The head is shaped like a thumb. You got some fat rolls on his chin, and you know, got some plushy cheeks there. You got some skin blemishes. Yeah, overall it looks really good. I do like the hair too. They put a nice wash to it. You can see some fat neck rolls there. Yeah, it looks really nice even at the top. I do like this a lot. Then let's look at his blubber body right here, and he's got some designs on his traps right there. He's got rolls after rolls. And his arms have those same skin blemishes he has on his face. You're gonna see that all around, actually. They did a great job with keeping that consistent all throughout. Even on the back of the legs, and you know they always skimp out on the back of the figures, but it's all present. One thing I will say, I wish there was more muscle definition on his arms. Because even though the Blob is fat, he's always had jacked up arms. But he just kept it fat here. Not sure if I'm feeling this long ass joint on the elbow. You know, he does get good range there. But I don't know how I like the look of it from the elbow ditch right there all the way to his wristband. Speaking of the wristband, it looks nice with the paint right there. Also on the other side, so he has paint right there on the wrists and on the traps, but the belt they didn't paint, and that's kind of a bummer. But yeah, right there you can see this is not painted, so it's a much brighter yellow, and the yellow on his wristbands and the design on his suit, it looks more of a mustard kind of yellow. Are the boots painted on? No, the boots are not painted on, so that's just regular plastic molding right there. So yeah, the belt and the boots matching color tones, but the wristbands don't match with it. It just matches with the shoulder straps right here. I felt like there could have been a waist swivel, but judging by the pattern of the belt, maybe it just wouldn't allow that engineering to happen, because the belt is not just straight across. As you can see, it curves with his belly onto his back, and oh my god, that's a whole lot of ass right there. Yeah, he's got his two fists right there, also with those skin blemishes. So the legs are nice. I like that they gave him some room to breathe right here on the crotch area, so he could lift his leg up real nice. So I do like that. You can see some fat around his kneecaps. Look at the calves right there and the knees. Yeah, this figure has a lot of nice sculpted details that highlights his fat. And then you got his boots right there and his fat feet. And yeah, that is it. I like the wrinkled folds on his boots. And it goes very well with his bodysuit because there's some wrinkled folds on the sides here. And yeah, on the wristbands too. So I like that. It's really cool. Now for accessories, he comes with this alternate head, and I can't tell if he's yelling or burping. I'm gonna say he looks like he's doing both at the same time. They did a good job with this, man. Man's got like triple chins right there. And the mouth in there is sculpted really nice. That's a good sculpt right there. But yeah, I really do like this expression. Again, continuing with the skin blemishes there. It's only on the face too, on both heads. It doesn't go all around. He's still got the fat roll on his neck, and the hair is still good. This one looks a lot shorter than the other one, right? Or is it about the same? Yeah, he doesn't have sideburns on this one. That is so weird. So they cut the sideburns out. This kind of reminds me of what they did with the 275 Banshee, where the one head has mutton chops and the other doesn't. That is so weird. Why do that? I don't get it. And as you can see, the hairline is further extended down on this one. So, find that oddly strange. He just has two different hairstyles, really, on both of these heads. But that doesn't take away from the way they look. I still think they look great. Also, I've seen some issues where it looks like his gum is exposed, but it's painted white. And that's not mispaint or anything. It's just because the mouth isn't fully inserted properly. I would tell you to look out for that before you buy, but I can't because, you know, windowless packaging. And then he has two open hands. So this one is a much wider hand. I like the scope on this. And some thick fingernails right there. And this one has a gripping hand with really nothing to hold. But yeah. Both are open hands, and I feel like the skin blemishes are not as prominent on this one. So, you know, this one more so than this one. This one's like barely existent, just a few in the middle. So you all know I love paying homage to those 90s vintage Toy Biz figures when I can. And that figure came with two accessories. He had like a piece of ham and a drumstick. So I feel like they were trying to pay tribute to that figure. I feel like he was intended to include like a drumstick or some sort of food accessory, because this hand just looks like he's meant to hold something. I thought I had those accessories still, but I can't find them. But if I do, you know, I'll just post them on my Instagram. The closest thing I could find was this piece of chicken or turkey from Batman the Animated Series Killer Croc. So yeah, here's a drumstick, and I think this is as close as we're gonna get to paying homage to that figure. So yeah, not quite the right look, but you know, for now it'll do. So this hand right here, you could put any kind of food accessory that could fit this hand. So I'll just put like a Jack Pacific hamburger from their WWE wrestling line. I mean, that's pretty cool. So I have the nachos that came with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Lightning Collection Pudgy Pig figure. So that could work as well. So, you know, just showing you some ways to accessorize your Blob figure with some food. Alright, sometimes I hate talking about pricing in my figure reviews because we can talk about that forever. But for this review, it's kind of inevitable, especially since the price was the most talked about topic since this figure's unveiling. Look, I'm liking this figure a lot. I really am. I've always said I'm not cheap with my money because when I love or want something really bad, I'll buy it. With that said, I also have the right to freely critique anything before or after the money is spent and speak to you from a consumer standpoint to let you know if it's worth it or not. I always get comments such as, oh, if you're complaining about prices, then why'd you buy it? Or why you say you're still gonna buy it? Oh, you didn't buy this, but you bought that instead, etc., etc. Like, bruh, to those who say that, well, first I like to say that I love Marvel and my feelings for Marvel ain't up for debate on that. Secondly, don't worry about my money and how I choose to save it or spend it. What does it matter to you really? My wallet ain't affecting your daily life. You still gotta go to work, make your own money, deal with life. My wallet is nobody's business but my own. And my wife's, respectfully so, because we're married. Don't worry about my money, my channel pays for it. If you're concerned about my money, then I advise you to get your priorities straightened quickly. Thirdly and lastly, it's my channel, and this, along with any social media platform of my own, I have the right to talk about anything I want to from what I like and dislike. Period. Plain and simple. But let's get to my main topic, which is the pricing on this. Is it really a $55 plus value? No, I'm not seeing the value here at all. And you can bring up that the bath goes over $200 plus on the aftermarket, so this is still cheaper. Which is true, and I won't argue that for this being the cheaper and better alternative. Then again, that's a rare figure to get since it's now about, 15 to 16 years old? No matter, it still doesn't justify the way Hasbro incorrectly set the price here for a new figure that's basically just a regular deluxe figure. The Hulk figures are bigger than this, and they were set at $30 mainly. The MODOK figure was a premium deluxe at $50. Yeah, it may only be $5 cheaper MSRP, but that has way more going on than this figure does. So I think this is grossly overpriced. I think Hasbro looked at the aftermarket value of the Blob figure and said, well, if collectors are buying our older figure for $200 plus on the aftermarket, we can price our new one close to $60 and they'll still buy it. And you know what? They are going to get away with it. While some may not buy the new one, being that they spent a lot of money buying the old BAF one already, others that did still will. Or those that bought the BAF will sell theirs to get the new one, as they'll still be buyers. They could have made this a BAF again and still gotten away with a high price point, because if they did, you'd have to spend $150 plus to complete it, or you would have had to spend close to $80 to $100 loose on eBay or something like that. $55 to $60 is still overpriced, but I guess it's the lesser of evil option. Okay, my head hurts from all that. It's just a vicious, repetitive cycle that's a puzzling paradigm, which makes me become an antithetical thinker. Do we blame the backtracking aftermarket buyers raising the value all these years, or do we blame Hasbro for this price hike? But I'll let you decide in the comments. Now let's get into articulation, and I gotta say, they built a pretty good articulated system with this guy. So his head is on a ball joint, and you can get him to look up a pretty decent amount right there. Yeah, that's some pretty decent range. Only gripe is, you move it up, you get that gap right there in the neck, and I just don't like that. I don't like how it looks. However, it does move a good amount down, so you can see, let me see how I can move this without the head popping off. I think that's as far as it'll go. So you can get him looking down on his opponent, like right there with Wolverine. But if I bend his torso over, you could get him to look even further down. So that is really cool. He does look left and right, not a traditional left and right. It's more diagonal, as you can see. And that's just one, because the shape of his head. But also, I feel like the ball joint here, if I can just zoom in, it's just a straight up stick. There's no, I feel like that trimming around the peg should not be there. That would have gave it some more circular range, give it some more room to breathe, and we could have definitely had a lot more movement in the neck area. So if they just shaved that trimming around the peg, we could have gotten a lot more neck range with this guy. But you know, I'm not totally upset about that. His arms move up and out straight horizontally, so you'll get a straight T-pose, nothing higher than that. You can move him down, you can swing him around. He has the elbow swivel and single jointed combo. He doesn't have a bicep swivel on top of an elbow swivel, thank God. I hate when those two are combined. But like I said before, I wish his arms were more defined in muscles to make him look jacked. I think the bicep swivel would have worked out better than this single jointed elbow, because I don't like I don't know, something about that gap right there I'm not feeling. Like, you can see the hinge exposed and it sticks out like that. Okay, yeah, that's another gripe I have. Don't like the look of that. So my complaint is on the aesthetic look right there. No complaints on the range. And you get the wrist swivel and a wrist hinge. Torso moves that far down, which I showed you before. And again, this is pretty good for a fat guy. He moves forward pretty well. The more I look at it on the side now, I feel like they should have added more fat on his back. And it moves that far back. Oh, never mind. Now I see why they didn't add more fat on the back, because, I mean, the back articulation just doesn't go back at all. It just moves straight. So this is a tricky figure to pull off because of his obesity, so I can't knock him that much for that. It does pivot a real good amount. Look at that side movement right there. And then that side movement hits really good, and it's got a nice swivel to it. His legs can move that far apart, and that's a pretty wide stance. Hold on, is this wider than the Renew Your Vow Spider-Man? Holy shit, it is. Wow, I totally give up on freaking Spider-Man splits for Marvel Legends. You just saw that. That's embarrassing. No fat man should ever outdo Spider-Man in a split. Alright, so his legs can kick that far up, and you can kick them that far back to get an awkward fat man split. And you can rock him around. He's got the thigh swivel, single jointed knees, and you definitely won't get heeled to the blubber butt. And I like that they did just the thigh swivel. There's no knee swivel here. Because just like the arms, if they did a bicep elbow swivel combination, I hate that. That's just stupid, and it would have been redundant if they did it here too. So they didn't overplay the articulation with this guy. Surprisingly, no boot swivel, as it looked like it would have a cut, and his ankles do move that far up, and they move down that low, and you can rock them around. Measuring Blob before jumping into comparisons, he stands at about 8 inches, maybe an 8 1/4 tall. So for comparisons, here is Blob next to some X-Men, Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Storm. Here is Blob next to the muscle of the X-Men team, Colossus. Here is Blob next to another oversized figure, and that's the Onslaught Bath. Here is Blob with Mystique's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, Mystique, Pyro, and Avalanche. We just need a Brotherhood Rogue and Mystique's wife, Destiny, to complete this team. Lastly, here is Blob with Magneto's Brotherhood. Toad, Mastermind, that's just a substitute stand-in using the Mobius body, Magneto, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver. Definitely need a Mastermind in his Brotherhood attire, and I'd love to get Eunice and Lorelei to complete the stable. And now to wrap things up, my final rating for the Blob is an 8.5 out of 10. I love this one way more than his BAF counterpart. They improved tenfold on the articulation by adding tons of more range in the neck, torso, elbows, legs, pretty much everywhere. Only thing the older one had over this one was fingers and toe joints, but those finger joints were useless. To me, he looks better than the BAF, both proportionally and aesthetically. The older one looked more gross looking, and it actually reminded me of the Ultimates universe of Blob, where he was a cannibal. Yeah, Marvel did that, but then again, they ruined the character multiple times in the comics. Don't want to sidetrack now, but going back to more BAF comparisons, you'll get more options here with an alternate head and hands. But if you have both of them, then you can add one with your Brotherhood and start a Freedom Fighters team with the other. The only thing I don't agree with this figure, as I mentioned before, is the price. He's the price of a 2-pack nowadays. Shit, his lord ass looks like he ate a 2-pack. Maybe if they gave him more accessories like food props and interchangeable torso that has a squishy belly or something like that, then maybe it would be deemed justifiable. Not defending the price, just thinking what could have added to the value. I addressed my gripes, but everything else I'm cool with. I'm really enjoying this figure and had some fun on the photographic side of the hobby for me, which is what I enjoy more than the reviewing aspect, but I still had fun reviewing this figure and breaking it down for y'all. Get this on clearance if you're thinking about getting it, and I think you'll feel better about your purchase. If you can't wait for it and decide to buy it full price because you need it now, then I hope you enjoy your figure. As long as you're happy with the figure and your purchase, then that's all that matters. Now I kick it back to you. What do you think of this Blob figure overall? Are you copying, passing, on the fence about it, or just waiting for clearance? Let me know what Brotherhood member they haven't done yet that they need to do now. Comment below, let me know, we'll chat about it. That was my review. Please follow me on Instagram if you haven't already at xmanny87. Hit the notification bell so you always know when my latest videos are up. Share and subscribe if you're new. Enjoy the pics at the end of the video. See you on the next review. Peace, peace.